I got to say this because that's their cue. Are you all ready?
Are you ready down there?
Okay, we're all ready then. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to welcome you to our City Council meeting this evening. And we'll begin by having the roll call, if our City Clerk, Ms. Killian, would do that.
The record will reflect that all members are present.
We're all here. Okay, next we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation. And if you'd all please stand, and the Reverend Jeff Lee, the chaplain for Elizabeth Hospice, will lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing.
Let us pray. Lord, we acknowledge you as creator and sovereign of all, and to you belong honor and reverence. Lord, as we honor you, we also consider our responsibilities as those that govern and as those that are governed. To those that govern, help them to understand the privilege of leadership. To those that are governed, let us respect our leaders, obey ordinances, and live positively, looking after the well-being of our neighbors and friends. So, Lord, we ask your blessing on this great nation, especially our men and women who are in harm's way on our behalf. Bless this city council of Vista City council members. We pray that decisions be clear, that compassion be our pledge, and as much as depends on us, help us to live peaceably with one another. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the approval of the agenda, and I'd like to ask if there are any additions or deletions from the agenda this evening.
No deletions, Mayor, and the only addition is actually an introduction, and I would like to introduce our new Public Works Director, Mauro Garcia, and here he is. Right on cue. And to the council and to the audience and to the public, Mr. Garcia started a couple weeks ago, and introduce you, and if you speak into the microphone and tell us a little bit about your background.
Absolutely. Should I get 3 minutes?
If you're lucky.
Okay. Just thank you very much for the opportunity. Just to give you a little bit of my background, I grew up in a small town in northern New Mexico, about 20 miles north of Santa Fe, and was the 8th of 8 children. So as my mother called me, I was the caboose of the Garcia train. So those of you that may see me eating in the future realize how fast I eat. There was a reason for that. With 10 of us around the table, it was a matter of survival, so we had to eat really fast. So stayed in New Mexico, attended New Mexico State University down in Las Cruces, got my bachelor's degree. And about a semester before finishing up, I met this beautiful young lady that I eventually convinced to be my wife. And so Nina and I got married a few months later. We then packed up all our gear and headed over to Tulsa, Oklahoma, where I went for my master's degree at the University of Tulsa. And so about a year and a half later, finished up that program, and we decided, well, let's move on over to San Diego for a couple of years. And so that was in 1987. And so our roots have grown quite deep over here. We've also created our own little Garcia train, although it's not quite as long as my parents. We have 3 wonderful children. I have a 15-year-old daughter, Reina. I have a 13-year-old son, Nico, and an 8-year-old daughter, Serena. So those are our jewels. Those are our little train, Garcia train. Also, about the time we moved to San Diego, I started my professional public service career with the City of San Diego about 19 years ago. Spent about 10 years in the organization effectiveness program and competition program with City of San Diego. Then moved over as the assistant to the city engineer for about 4 years, and got into the operations side with 2 years as the operations manager for the City of San Diego Street Division, which is a fairly significant division. Spent the last 3 years in the Park and Rec Department, both running the Maintenance Assessment District. We have about 38 of them at the time. Headed up the community parks, one of the community parks divisions, which was about half of the parks in San Diego. And then the last year I took on the largest division, which was Developed Regional Parks, which was in charge of kind of the city's jewels, all the beaches in San Diego, as well as all the shoreline parks, Mission Bay, Balboa Park, as well as all the large maintenance across all the parks in San Diego. And so, but about a year ago, Nina and I and the kids decided to migrate north, and so we moved up to North County. And after commuting for a few months, decided, you know what, this is this is not fun. So I started looking for different opportunities up here, and thank you to Rita and Rick have given me an opportunity here with the City of Vista, and so I'm thankful to that, and very appreciative to be here. And you'll find that I'm a very hands-on person. So if you're driving around Vista, you're probably going to see me out with the crews, picking up trash and painting out graffiti and filling potholes and all that sort of good stuff. I'm also like to try new and different approaches to see if we can find better ways and more efficient ways of doing business, and I'm always open to customer ideas and suggestions. So thank you very much. Look forward to working with all of you.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
It's good to have you with us.
Thanks.
Mr. Lopez has a question. Mr. Garcia?
Oh, welcome. It's a wonderful city to be in. I also married a woman, my wife, from Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. All right.
Wasn't the same woman.
Same name, no.
Different women, okay. All right, next on the agenda, prior to the city council meeting, we had a closed session where we discussed some matters of litigation, and so I'll turn the time over to the city attorney to give a report on the actions taken in the closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The council, as indicated, did meet in closed session. We discussed the 3 items that are on today's closed session agenda, which are itemized under CS 1, 2, and 3. While discussion was had, no actions were taken, and there is nothing to be reported at this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have one presentation that we'd like to make this evening. It gives me a great deal of pleasure to make this presentation. I'd like to invite Sergeant Adam File up to the podium. If you'd please come and join me. Sergeant File served as our Grand Marshal for the 4th of July celebrations that we had with the city, and I had an opportunity to meet him then. And as we were both going out on the stage, and I remember him saying that, I'm a little bit nervous about doing this. What do I do? And I said, whatever you'd like to do. They're here to honor you. So we're here to honor you as well tonight. And we appreciate the things that you've done. Now, you have some others in the audience that you're familiar with. Maybe you'd like to introduce.
Okay. People that came with me this evening is, first I'll introduce my wife, Tavia, and my 8-month-old daughter, Sadie. They came with me, along with my Master Sergeant, and my Chief Warrant Officer. Pretty much, if you're not familiar with the military, those are pretty much my bosses.
Well, it's good to have you all with us, and you have a beautiful young daughter. Also, we have with us Dan and Lois Ray. Dan is the chairman of our 4th of July fireworks celebration and does a marvelous job each year and made arrangements for us to have our Grand Marshal here. I'd like to read the proclamation if I could. And it says that whereas Sergeant Adam File was recently selected as the Grand Marshal for the 4th of July celebration at Brengle Terrace Park in Vista, and whereas Sergeant File was chosen to represent the contributions of all military personnel and their families, whether stationed nearby or abroad, the members of the armed forces put their lives at risk each day to protect the freedom of all Americans. And whereas after enlisting in the Marines following the 9/11 tragedy that struck this country, Sergeant File has faced every assignment and each of his tours in Iraq with enthusiasm and pride. And whereas he prepares to leave for his next tour in February with his wife and young daughter waiting at home, the Vista City Council commends Sergeant File on his dedication to his country and thanks him and all his fellow Marines for fighting for the rights of all Americans. And now, therefore, the mayor and members of the Vista City Council do hereby proclaim Wednesday, August 15th, 2007, as Sergeant Adam File Day in the city of Vista. And our proclamation is signed by all members of the City Council, and I'd like to present that to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, City of Vista, council members, and mayor. Thank you for recognizing not only myself, but also the United States Marine Corps as a whole. I know that the City of Vista has welcomed me and my family, not only now, but with the 4th of July celebration at Brengle Terrace Park. Mr. Ray, you know, not only there, but with the golf tournament, you were very supportive in everything that the Marine Corps stands for, and I want to thank you as well. And you guys definitely made me feel welcome in the city of Vista. So I want to thank you again, everyone, for your support. Thank you.
Thank you again. That's nice. Next, we have oral communications. This is the opportunity for those that wish to speak to the City Council about any item that's not on the agenda. And they have 3 minutes in which to make their presentation. The only one that I have this evening is Alejandra Sanchez. Alejandro?
City Council members, good afternoon. For the record, my name is Alejandro Sanchez. I live on 519 North Citrus Avenue. And last Sunday, August the 12th, I read an article on the San Diego Union Tribune. The topic was about the school district, in particular, school chief, Dr. Bales. As you know, she's the new superintendent in the school district, and I was very, very glad, to see this article. And as a matter of fact, I even wrote it down a letter right away, and I hope that they can, post my letter in the future. But I came to just read it to you. This is regarding to the school chief. Says reading is main focus. August 12. Superintendent Joyce Bales is absolutely right. Going to high school and not to knowing how to read is not normal, not acceptable. Hope Love and courage and hard work and good vision equals change. I urge every parent, student, administrator, teacher, and city official, and every single visitor and resident to stand on your ground with Dr. Bales. Now it's time to bring you all together with a new perspective and a common goal. In time of crisis and darkness, you will be shine. Behind a great leader, great leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Also, this evening, we have another group that's with us that I've had the opportunity to meet with on one occasion, and they are holding classes it's the first town site leadership class, and they're with us tonight, and they're led by Bill De La Fuente. Why don't that members of the class, why don't you please stand? Yeah, welcome. We're happy to have you with us this evening. You're finding out what city government's all about tonight, I think. Okay, next on the agenda is the consent calendar. These are items that will be considered with one vote by the City Council unless these items are pulled by someone from the City Council or from a member of the public. Are there any items that the Council would like to have pulled? Mr. Campbell?
C10, since I see Mr. Bunn is here in the audience.
Okay, C10. Any other items? Okay, and I have no other items from the audience, so I would then accept a motion to approve the remaining portion of the consent calendar with the exception of C10.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. If you'd all please cast your votes. Bless the electronics. There we go. No, I voted yes. No one else voted. Let's do that again, should we?
You want a do-over?
All right. Please push your button and cast your vote. Okay.
Persistent anyway, aren't you? Is it working?
No, it still says I voted no and no one else voted. All right, if we'll move right along. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Okay, it passes unanimously. Okay, the next item that we have is item number C10, and that's an application for an alcoholic beverage control license for Rancho Vista Car Wash at 600 Hacienda Drive. And so we'll have the staff report, and then we have one individual that would like to speak to that. So,
Good evening. The owner of the Rancho Vista Car Wash, which is also a Chevron station, has applied for an ABC license to allow the sale of alcohol for off-site consumption. The Planning Commission approved a special use permit for this use in June, and it includes the standard conditions that are recommended in this council report, in addition to a few other security measures that have been agreed to by the applicant. That's the only thing that differs in this one from the regular set of standard conditions. And the applicant is here if there are any questions.
any questions before we hear from the applicant? Mr. Campbell?
No, I'll be glad to hear from Mr. Bunn, and then I have questions.
Okay. Mr. Lopez, did you have? Okay. Mr. Bunn, if you'd please come forward.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Well, here we are. I didn't have a presentation made. I was just available for questions if there were any.
Any questions from the council?
I do.
Okay, Mr.
Mr. Camp?
Mr. Bunn, you were kind enough to show me through your operation there, and you showed me some real strong efforts on your part to include improved security. You and I had spoken about a time when I was there, and there was didn't seem to be coverage at the front, where it seemed to me you were not only subject to being people removing property from your premises, which concerned me, and we discussed that, but also to make sure that we'd have proper coverage, particularly if your staff is off the floor as far as securing the liquor cabinets and all. Could you just reiterate through what you've been working with staff, and I appreciate that. What are you going to be doing? What are your steps?
Well, we do have the conditions that are outlined in the approval. which are standard, with video surveillance and things of that nature. In addition to that, we had submitted a proposal to have remotely accessed locking systems on our cooler doors where the alcoholic beverages would be stored, which means that they're basically positively locked at all times, and the only way to access those for a customer is with a remote release, similar to that of a jewelry store front door type of thing. So you have an electromagnetic lock on the doors at all times, and once that the customer has been verified to be a proper age, then they can access to remove the product that they'd like to purchase.
And you're comfortable these measures are practical in a retail environment?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I actually think it should be the standard.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else?
Mrs. Ritter.
That was actually my question about the locking cases, so that was my question, so I've got an answer now.
Okay, Mr. Lopez?
Thank you. I had an opportunity to go to your store the other day when some of your employees were there, and I actually stood there for a while to watch, how everything operates in your store. And I asked her about the beer, and she showed me exactly directly where it was going to be. And this is for council, so that, so from where the cash register is and where the doors are, it's a direct shot there. And they would not have a problem with that. But she also told me, the lady there, that the case inside would have a partition where you couldn't put your hand through and take any beer unless the button would be released. So that was another safety thing that I noticed on that she explained to me. And so, I mean, this is probably something that a lot of stores will probably be doing in the future, and I commend you for what you're doing. And it was a great idea to do something like that with the button, because I think it's going to be something for the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from members of the council? Okay, thank you, Mr. Bunn.
Thank you.
If I could, I'd like to ask, what?
I'm fine. Someone.
He changed his mind.
Okay. Is the sheriff's captain here? Lieutenant, if you'd please come forward. I know as we go through these, some of these requests for ABC licenses, we have a standard procedure where we protest and we give a list of things that they have to do in order to remove that protest from the city. Now, this particular location is in close proximity to the courthouse and to the jail. In the opinion of the Sheriff's Department, does that pose any other security measures than that would be normal for an ABC license? Which in the past I've voted for ABC licenses, and I'm a little concerned of the close proximity to the jail when we have releases from the county jail, and people are happy to be gone and they want to celebrate.
Well, I think with the 17 conditions that we've asked the Chevron station to comply with, and what I've heard today, I think that answers a lot of security issues that we would have. I think the jail, most of the times the inmates, when they're released, they really just want to get out, and
They're not that happy then.
No, they're really not. And they have other issues to worry about as well. So I'm comfortable with the security measures they have in place right now.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Mr. Campbell?
I move for approval of this item.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
Maybe.
Oops. It won't. So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And raise your hand. And okay. Those that are opposed? Okay, it passes unanimously. Okay, finishing the consent calendar, we'll go to the first item of discussion, which is funding for the Vista Girls Softball League. And this is Brendel will offer the staff report on this.
Hi, good evening. Thank you. I'd actually like to defer to the president of Vista Girls Softball, Charlotte Files, if she would come up to the podium.
Is she here?
Yes. Here earlier. Charlotte? Here she comes.
Okay.
Good evening.
Hi.
Go ahead.
No, we're here to hear your request.
This is the first year for Vista Girls Softball to offer a 16 and 18 and under program, and we were completely honored and happy that our teams, the two teams that we offered in these divisions, qualified for their national tournaments. They played in local tournaments throughout the beginning of the season, then went to a state tournament up in Lancaster, and our 16 and under team finished 5th, and our 18 and under team finished 2nd. And then in 3 weeks' time had to be prepared to go on to their national qualifying tournaments in Spokane, Washington, and in Salem, Oregon. So the girls worked hard in the 3 weeks that they had in between qualifying and leaving in order to raise funds. They had barbecues and did basically panhandling out in front of stores and banks, and did a hit-a-thon, sent letters off to service organizations within the city, private businesses, in hopes to raising funds. The league itself gave all of the proceeds from their 2 tournaments that they hosted this year for a total of $7,000 to be split amongst the 2 teams to help offset their travel expenses. So we had submitted the letter to the city, and were gracious enough, that you guys would hear our plea for assistance and let you know that they made it, that they represented their city, and did very well in it. So I don't know if anyone's got questions or...
Well, first of all, I'd like to say congratulations to the young ladies. I think that's a very admirable thing that you've accomplished, and represented the city well, and we appreciate that. Mr. Campbell does have a question.
No.
Pardon? Oh, well, I guess this whole thing's not working, so raise your hands. Mr. Lopez.
Thank you, Mayor. Could you have the young ladies that are on the teams please stand?
Oh, absolutely. This is our 16 and under team that went to Salem, Oregon. Ended up finishing 9th there, and in the back...
It's going to be a test. I want you to name each girl.
I can probably do that.
Okay.
This is Nicole and Lizzie, Tori right behind her, Chloe, Danielle, Katie, AJ, Taz, Caitlin, standing in the back there. Who? Sorry, Taylor. Taylor Berry. I know her last name, so I do know her. Abby Grimes, Cassandra, Amanda, Marissa, and Kristen.
Very good. Thank you. Okay. Anything further, Mrs. Brendel? Okay. We have a recommendation by our staff to authorize $6,000 to help offset your travel expenses, and so I'd make that motion.
I'll go ahead and second that motion and just say, we've helped send young boys to the East Coast to play baseball, and we've sent young men to play football in their Super Bowl, and now I think we can help some young ladies, that have done very well in their national finals too. So,
Okay.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Aye? Any opposed? Okay, well, thank you very much for coming and for your representation of the City of Vista. And I think we heard the speaker. I'm sorry, we did have a speaker, Bob Holman. Mr. Holman, did you want to say anything more?
Yeah, say it.
I apologize, I'm
Not a
sorry.
problem, not a problem. City Council and team, first of all, thank you very much for allowing us, giving us this time. My name is Bob Holman. I am the manager of the Vista Girls Softball 16 and under Blue All-Star Team. I'd like to take a few moments to share with the City Council and everyone present tonight a couple of the highlights from this All-Star season. First of all, I'd like to thank the City of Vista, Vista Girls Softball, and the community for the support they have shown for these girls. It's good to see these girls get the recognition that they deserve. Most of these girls have been playing for over 10 years, and these kids, they work hard every day, okay? While we might not have been on national television, this tournament was just as important to these players as going to the Little League World Series has been for the boys. At the beginning of this All-Star season, we set a goal of qualifying for the Western National Tournament. When we lost when we lost 3 of our starting players for various reasons just before state championships, we weren't too sure we were going to be able to reach that goal. We went to Palmdale with just 10 players, and we told our girls to go out there and represent Vista Girls Softball to the best of their ability, and we had 8 of those players play every inning of every game in 100-degree plus heat. They all showed tremendous heart, some playing new positions, some playing through injuries, some recovering from heat exhaustion, only to return to the same game and to the dismay of many of the opposing teams. The girls went on to win their first 3 games, finishing 5th, as we all know now, in state, high enough to qualify for the B Western National Championship in Salem, Oregon, which has been our goal right from the very beginning. But we weren't finished. We made a strong showing in Salem, finishing with a 5-2 record and tying for ninth place. Now, we are a 16 and under all-star team. We have our ages range. We have quite a few 14s, 15s, and a few 16s. So we have kids that are playing up in the league. But as I always say, it's not just about softball. It's about respect, sportsmanship, and giving 100%. We witnessed some awful behavior by some of the opposing teams at times, and sometimes it's very hard to rise above that. But these girls, they showed a lot of class, okay? As a matter of fact, I was walking through the Salem Sports Complex between games, and I overheard some umpires speaking. I was nearly past them when I realized that they were speaking about us. So I made the U-turn, I stopped, and I spoke with the umpires, and I asked them exactly what they were trying to say. And they basically said that the Vista team is a classy bunch of kids, well-coached, well-respected by other teams and by the tournament directors. It was not the first time nor the last I was approached by outsiders to comment on what a fine bunch of girls we had representing the city of Vista. The tournament director came to me directly and asked me if I would have some players that would be glad to be interviewed on a tape telecast of one of the games that were being played. The local newspaper had our team on the front page of their sports paper. I can't tell you how proud I am to be involved with this team and Vista Girls Softball organization. We try to maintain high standards on any team that we coach, and while sometimes it makes us unpopular with some, it's all worthwhile when you get such great group of girls and such great positive results. I could go on about these girls for quite a while, and I've been known to do that, but I won't do it tonight. I just want to thank you once again and assure you that the good name of the city of Vista is well represented wherever this 16 and under all-star, 16 and 18 all-star team goes. Vista Girls Softball is a class act. We've been around this for many years, and we've seen the good and the bad and the ugly, and this is the best. So thank you for your time.
Mr. Holman, it's really heartwarming for the city council to hear that.
Very good.
And those comments. I had the privilege of going back to Williamsport when the Little League went back there. I heard the same comments about the young men as well.
Did you really?
And I think it makes us really, as a city council, feel good that we have such good youth in this community, both young women and young men. And it speaks well for the city of Vista and what the parents are doing to raise their families and to raise them with values.
Well, I have to tell you, it's a lot of work, and this stuff does not come easy. We started our practice scenario at 2 times a week, and when we realized that we needed to step it up, I approached the girls and I said, you know, if you guys want to make something happen, we have to go every day, 5 days. Very few moans and groans. They all showed up. They worked very, very hard. We played many games, many days. We played 4 games, starting at the 8 a.m. game, ending at the 8 p.m. game, and we are there at 7 or 6:45 in the morning. The 8 p.m. game will be over at about 9:30. We're not back to our hotel until about 11. So I appreciate it very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Okay, our next item on the agenda is item D2. It's the Fire Station Design Services, the lead, which is Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design Certification. And Allie Zimmerman is going to make the presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. This item is consideration of an amendment to the fire station's design contract currently underway with Jeff Katz Architecture that would incorporate LEED standards into the design and the construction administration portions of the fire station's projects. As the mayor just stated, LEED stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, and it is the nationally accepted benchmark for design, construction, and operation of green buildings. Recently, there has been a lot of discussion about the importance of making the new community building projects as environmentally friendly and sustainable as possible. And while the fire stations both incorporate many environmentally friendly elements, only LEED certification provides the independent third-party verification that a building project meets the highest performance standards, which would make Vista a leader in sustainable design and construction. LEED certification is granted by earning a minimum number of points to attain a LEED rating level. The levels go from basic certification, which requires at least 26 points, up to platinum, requiring at least 52 points. And the points are earned in a variety of, or for a variety of choices, including the location of the site, using water-efficient landscaping, water reduction measures, stormwater management, including pollution that reduces pollution and erosion, low energy usage, and the use of renewable materials and low-emitting adhesives, paints, and carpeting. Those are just some examples. And based on a preliminary review of the potential points that the fire station's projects could earn, staff and Jeff Katz both agreed that both stations could achieve the basic LEED certification without any major changes or delays to the projects. Therefore, staff requested that Jeff Katz provide a new proposal to amend his design contract to include LEED certification. The new scope of services provided calls for the retention of a LEED certified consultant, changes to design, LEED registration, and the commissioning of both projects, and independent oversight of the design and construction. It isn't anticipated that delays would be caused by these changes. And this concludes the staff report. I'm available for questions.
Are there any questions from members of the City Council? Mr. Campbell?
Are there public questions?
No, there are no one wishes to speak that's submitted a request.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Has there been a chance, Ms. Zimmerman, to evaluate the cost-benefit type of situation where if we go to the LEED certification, that would improve air conditioning, improve insulation, various other elements like that. Is there any analysis that you've seen or we can compare to that shows that the investment of $180,000 brings us more than a certificate in terms of payback in savings on utilities or things of that nature?
Not yet in terms of hard numbers. We're working with SDG&E's Sustainable Communities Program, and as part of the LEED certification, they would be doing some review of the design and how much under Title 24 would meet, which would give us a basic idea of our energy cost savings. But because these changes haven't been incorporated into the design, we don't have any kind of specific comparison of dollars.
Has there been any suggestion as to the possible increase in costs of materials to follow through? It's one thing to pay for the design work, but then there's also the implementation. Do you have any ideas on what costs there might be there?
The estimates we have from our architect is that the increase in cost in construction is only about 2%. And this is because a lot of the components were already planned. And so it's just a matter of commissioning the projects and getting the verification and some design changes that make the design side a little bit more expensive.
Just, Mayor, if I may, to the council in Monterey, there was a discussion about LEED principles. It was led by Pasadena, who believes strongly in LEED. A number of the questions that were given to the panelists, which included one of the people from LEED, who's a certified instructor in it, is it's fairly hard to define in the early stages what the savings might be by going this way, or really what the costs might be. And the process may or may not slow down the design work, but in case of a fire station, I don't see that could be a huge issue.
Our architect thinks that we are going to be able to stay on track.
Stay on time,
Yes.
on track.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions? Mr. Gronke?
Yeah, I just want to let you know that I did talk to Ms. Putnam and Ms. Zimmerman about this LEED certification, and even before we started that discussion, they were already moving in the direction of incorporating a lot of these design elements, so I thought it was a good idea to pursue it further and go into the LEEDs program, too, because from what I've heard from that and the green aspects of the building, whether it be reduction of water or saving in energy or water runoff, whatever it may be, they were all benefits to the environment. So I thought that was a really good thing that we say it. We're coming up with these projects from the city and making a statement by joining the LEEDs program and saying, we're going to build the best in Vista. And I think it's a good thing.
Any other? Mr. Lopez?
Thank you, Mayor. Green means green dollars. I think at the end of this whole project, that in time, I think we'll be able to save some money, hopefully. And I think that if we as a city has to set an example in our community. If I think it's something in the future that we have to look at our environment. We all know what's going on right now with all this government stuff about ozone, what do they call it, all that space stuff.
Global warming.
Global warming, I just, I don't know where we're going with that, but I think in our community, I think if we as a city has to set the example for the future of our community, because we're into the environment, trying to make things better, and I think this is a real good start. Thank you.
Mrs. Ritter?
It doesn't work. Okay. I just want to say that I support this going forward, but I'm reserving on the City Hall and the other things. I don't think it's going to be too outrageous for this to certify this as LEED, but I'm reserving on the City Hall because we worked on another building, was through Encina, and the price was exorbitant when we went to try and make it all certified LEED. There's a lot of things we can do to go toward that way, but I'm not ready to commit to that in the City Hall, so I just wanted to make that statement.
Any other comments? Okay, I appreciate all your comments and agree with most. So, okay, Mr. Campbell?
I've been thinking long and hard on this, and although I don't have my green shirt on today, I'm surely a green person and do care about this. But I have so much confidence in Ms. Putnam and Ms. Zimmerman and the quality of the architect that's being chosen for this project that I'm sure they're up to the state of the art and the best practices that are available, so we can get pretty green and pretty much in compliance with whatever LEED would bring to us. But I think of $180,000, and I think of a traffic signal, I think of photovoltaics going on both buildings, or a hot water solar system, or some other benefits that could be added to the project. And unfortunately, at that price point, I'll be voting no.
Mr. Lopez?
Thank you, Mayor. A building like this will last how many years? How many years?
A lot of years.
A lot of years. So when you figure at the end of the year how much you're saving with a lot of years, hopefully it'll be a good thing. I'll be voting for it.
Thank you.
All right. I'm sorry. In all this discussion, I lost track. Did we have a motion?
I'll go ahead and make a motion.
Okay.
Approve staff's recommendation.
Mr. Gronke's made the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Lopez. If there are no further questions, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? No. Okay, one no. Mr. Campbell. Okay, moving right along, the next item is D3, which is the League of California Cities Voting Delegate and Resolutions. Do we have any resolutions about LEED certification? All right. I don't know that we... Wow. Do we need a staff report on this? I don't think we do. So do we have any motions?
Mayor, I'd be glad to recommend that we have Bob Campbell, Mr. Campbell as our primary, and Mr. Lopez as our alternate.
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. All right. All those in favor? Do we need just one alternate or two?
We need two, really.
Mrs. Gelder. I'm not going to be there on Saturday, so, Mrs. Gelder?
I won't be able to be there either, Council, so
So we'll have one.
you'll have one.
Okay. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. 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 Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Okay, next on the agenda are remarks by
Mayor, if I may,
Mr.
you discussed the delegates, but the resolutions?
Oh, the resolutions, yeah. I forgot about the resolutions. The 4 resolutions that doesn't include any lead certification. We're going to have you as our delegate. We would have to give very strict instructions, wouldn't we?
I would vote the council's wish.
Okay. Very good. Do you want to amend your...
I will amend my motion to also recommend that we go along with the resolutions to be taken to the...
Is that all right with the second?
It's okay with the second.
Okay. Please, those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, very good. Now we'll go to remarks. Mr. City Attorney, Mr. Piper.
Nothing this evening, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mrs. Gelder?
Just that we are targeting September 25th as the date to bring back the second-year budget and also our 5-year capital improvement program. And then also, I just wanted to call out is that on our resolutions, it's really nice to say, to see that our title is Vista, City of Vista, a charter city. So I think that would you like, when you read through your agenda reports, it's just really nice to note that that's included in all of those resolutions.
Okay. Mr. Gronke.
Well, Mayor, I have 3 items I'd like to speak to tonight. The first one deals with, I think, improvements of our city that need to be acknowledged. I want to thank the property owners of several centers in our town. It started with the center over at Foothill and Vista Way, where they really improved that site, and I think they did a wonderful job. And now we see the Fresh and Easy people also on Vista Way. That center's almost done, and it looks wonderful. I noticed that Vaughn's has got some paint that they're going to throw on their center too, and even the Paper Bark Center is getting a facelift too. So I think it's just something to celebrate that a lot of people believe in Vista. They think it's a great place to shop, and that they're willing to put their money back into their centers. And so I think they really look wonderful. The second thing I want to highlight is something that's more personal to me. I'm really a ridgeline type of guy, and I noticed that when Velocitos put in their water tank, they did some scarring of the ridgeline up there. But I'm to understand that they'll be doing some landscaping of that, and that'll be reestablished back in probably December and January. The last thing I have is the tobacco ordinance that we put into place a couple of years ago. Was something that we established to try to reduce the number of young people buying tobacco. And if you've forgotten what that's all about, it's basically we put some money forward and had the had the business establishments pay a fee to have some additional enforcement of tobacco or laws. And in the process of doing so, we have deputies go out and attempt to buy tobacco and see if they're successful. And unfortunately, sometimes they are. So I just want to say that Tropicana Market on Santa Fe, you need to really try to talk to your employees, make sure they understand the implications of young people having tobacco sold to them. Same thing with CVS on Santa Fe, Paco's 99-cent store and up, also in Santa Fe, and I believe the Vaughn Center too, unfortunately. All 4 of these retailers have been cited for selling tobacco to minors. So, just a little bit more diligence on your own and working with your employees to make sure that doesn't occur again. I really, really appreciate it.
Mrs. Ritter.
I don't really have much. I would just second Steve's thing on thanking all of the merchants that are, or the owners of those centers that are upgrading those centers, because for a long time, I think people kind of lost hope in that end of town, and we're thinking it was, looking pretty bad, and now it's looking pretty good. So I'd like to thank them also. And other than that, I'm just happy to make it back here on time at 5:30 from Orange County. It was quite the rush.
We're glad you made it also.
Oh, yes.
And
I
we're
with
hap-
the speed limit.
Yeah, we're happy to have you with us, too, and especially since you spent the full day up there in Orange County.
I thought she was here in town this morning.
That's what I heard, that she was here in town this
I
morning.
was not in town, and I was not at the Vaughn Center.
Oh, Mr. Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor. If I can, a couple things from the League of City. The San Diego division of the League of City, which for our members out in the audience, there are 18 cities in San Diego that work together on some common issues. And one of the things we started this year was a legislative subcommittee, which meets an hour before the executive committee and works on just a few issues that are of considerable concern to the state. So I'd like to bring a couple to your attention. One is AB 414 by Jones. And what Jones is proposing is a restriction on our local planning rules that would prohibit us from having mixed use with residential. So, for example, in South Santa Fe, if we wanted to do something there, or the Pelican Project, they would, by this legislation, they would prohibit that. And so staff is preparing for the mayor's signature a letter of opposition to that, but it's something in your travels. If you see any legislators, please reinforce your concern, because that's sort of the future of our community, at least in our long-range plan. The state, as you know, still doesn't have their budget prepared, but we've been working really hard with the state to allocate the Proposition 1B funds. Vista is due to receive something over $3 million eventually, but we've been pushing for, and it seems like we have concurrence that at this point in time, we get 50% of those in the first year and 50% in the second. That would be used, I believe, Mrs. Geldert, for?
We have a plan already in place with streets listed that are ready for rehabilitation and major overlay for all $3 million, plus any allocation that the council has, plus our Transnet monies. So
There are city streets that need rehabilitation?
we are prepared tomorrow to spend $6 million if it is available. We have it all mapped out, and it's in the priority order that the council has listed on arterials and some collectors.
That sounds good.
At any rate, if you see your legislators, that's an important one to keep making sure they don't cut it down to something like $400,000, which has been their low number. And then Senator Duchesne is working, of course, on trying to get us to commit to a 10-year supply of housing. But it's sort of a disincentive because it locks you in, and the League has been trying to work with her and her staff on this, and the League does to oppose this, because it should be the cities have more flexibility in deciding their future on it. It seems to be driven by, I would guess, by the building industry, who want some assurance that they have long-term viability on some of their proposed projects. And then eminent domain, there are a couple of initiatives on the street right now, but there will be an initiative being put forward by the League of Cities and the California Redevelopment Association. And that would be just to make sure we have at least a placeholder in case this comes before the people, and make sure that our position is there. The League is not against reform in eminent domain, and the city, for our audience, as a prohibition against taking anybody's residence in a residentially zoned area. That's been since 1985. So homes here in Vista are protected. And the reforms that are being suggested by the League are still allow us some commercial opportunities to improve the economy and reduce blight and improve our community, which Vista really needs. So that would be my report from the League.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lopez.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I'd like to talk a little about the Sprinter. Most of you noticed that they're getting towards the end here pretty soon. But I did notice one thing, that they've done a nice job laying those tracks, and it has a fairly good look for rail. And down off of down Santa Fe area, it looks very nice, and I hope that it continues to improve. And maybe down the road we can do some type of landscaping around some of those areas that'll really improve the walkways through there, and so that's down the road. Now, I also like to thank the group that's out here tonight for coming here and spending the evening, and thank Mr. Bill De La Fuentes for working with you in the community. It gives me pleasure to see you here. As Latinos, in the past, when I started a lot of these meetings back in the 70s, there was very few, and there's more now. And I'm glad you're interested in your community, because it's good to see leadership with young folks like you out there. And thank you, Bill, for helping them. You have a good teacher there, and I thank you very much for coming tonight. Thank you. That's all.
Okay, that concludes the business for this evening. We appreciate all those that have attended and all those that have participated by watching this on television. So thank you very much, and good evening.